The engine of this road roller was damaged to varying degrees due to steel pulling, so the owner sent it to this professional repair shop. The owner asked the master to repair the engine. The Dynapac road roller in front of him was the protagonist that needed a major overhaul. In order to dismantle and repair this 4-cylinder engine, we first had to use the assistance of the vehicle adjustment to drain the oil pan and the black oil. Although this 4-cylinder engine does not look large, its weight is not light at all. After 30 seconds of gravity oil draining, in order to open this blind box as soon as possible, the masters also used all their wrenches, even if they did not have high-end electrical tools. After the orderly division of labor and cooperation, the masters of the repair shop had more people and more strength. After they skillfully removed the bolts of the steel cover, in order to facilitate the removal of the crankshaft inside the steel body, they first had to disassemble the formal gear set. Although the working condition under the formal cover was already very bad, the masters were also praying for a miracle. After the master successfully disassembled the camshaft, half of this small engine was disassembled. Then the bolts of the connecting rod bearing cap were loosened. In this way, the piston could be easily pushed out of the steel body. The appearance of the trace. The disassembly of the entire engine still needs to continue. The master's rocker wrench quickly rotates the large flywheel and flywheel housing at the bottom, and the disassembly is also very fast. At this time, the master only needs to remove the bearing cap that fixes the crankshaft, and the crankshaft can be directly taken out of the steel body. At this time, the engine has been disassembled. After all the parts are classified, the carbon deposits inside the cylinder head are very thick. In order to restore it to the factory state, some valves need to be completely broken up and cleaned. There is a lot of scale inside the water channel. In order to avoid poor heat dissipation of the engine and high temperature, the master also needs to add oxalic acid inside the steel body for decomposition and also pour it into the cylinder head. At this time, the oxalic acid will react chemically with the scale, and the acid will completely decompose and remove the scale. After 20 minutes of natural decomposition, Fu also needs to release the internal oxalic acid mixture. Oxalic acid cannot come into direct contact with the skin. As for the master, he needs to rinse it with clean water. When the steel body is free of any scale, the cylinder head that is also blocked is processed. After the master repeatedly flushes it, the cylinder head also saves the step of cleaning carbon deposits. The steel tube has no effect on the piston rod. The internal bushings can no longer meet the use requirements. After cleaning the 4 connecting rods of the oil house, a new inner bushing needs to be replaced. This steel body is not so lucky because the entire inner wall has scratches of varying degrees. In order to make the steel body continue to be used, Fu has to use their high-end Hercules steel reinforcing machine to carefully reinforce the inner wall of the steel body. The scratches on the inner wall can be completely removed. After the precise processing of the steel reinforcing machine, the inner wall has been restored to a flat state. In this way, there is no need to replace for new steel sleeves. In order to make the inner wall of the steel sleeve hold the engine oil, Fu also needs to use an electric drill to carry out the aircraft carrier. The main purpose is to process a layer of mesh. The inner wall of the steel sleeve can form an oil film. Then use the internal diameter micrometer for detailed measurement to avoid data errors and cause engine failure. After using a new piston for testing, the cylinder head needs to be translated. Because this engine is caused by high temperature, the cylinder pull is not only level, but some valves need to be replaced with new ones. The air and temperature are higher. Fu will use a grinder to grind the valve. Although their tools are relatively simple, as long as the valve fits flush with the steel surface, it is also a good tool. Then clean the oil on the crankshaft to avoid affecting the subsequent engine assembly. So gasoline is used to clean the oil. Before assembly, it needs to be rinsed again with a high-pressure water gun. Then, through their detergent solution, the steel surface can be made dust-free. After the master spent half an hour cleaning, the engine can be officially assembled at. While the master was blowing the water off, the master outside also began to assemble the new piston. The assembly of the piston and the connecting rod is also very simple. The piston needs to be cut to connect the holes of the two. After tightening the yellow, the piston docking is completed. Of course, the new piston must be inseparable from the new piston ring. The master quickly puts it into the groove and the preparation of the piston is completed. Then install the new crankshaft bowl to the steel body to avoid wear on the crankshaft main journal. After closing, tighten the fixing bolts of the large bearing cover. However, they did not twist the wrench to apply the corresponding torque. Their rule is to tighten it until it cannot be twisted. After the shaft oil seal is fixed, the flywheel housing is installed. The master also assembled the whole process smoothly without any drag. drag. In order to facilitate the piston to be pushed back into the steel body, the master will use their homemade piston ring pressing tool to achieve the purpose of quick installation of the piston. After the camshaft is successfully pushed into the steel body, in order to ensure the tightness of the bottom shell, sealing shop, there is no risk of oil leakage with the bottom box. Then install the diesel pump back to its original position. The master who installed it has more than one generation of master who disassembled it, so the overall progress is also very fast. Afterwards, the clean cylinder head is installed back to its original position. Although the assembly of the valve rocker arm and the push rod is very simple, the adjustment of the valve clearance takes a lot of time. After the master's valve plug corpse is constantly measured, this engine that drinks new engine oil can be started after overhaul dots, so this steel engine is repaired. What do you think of the skills of the Pakistani master?